Orange peel beef. Orange peel beef. Orange peel beef. Orange peel beef. Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
Everybody, welcome back. It's one fucking hour time. That's right. The show. Love that little lick. The show where we talk about one goddamn movie and we have just one fucking hour to do it. I'm Evan Husney, of course, joined by, to my left, Miss Ramey Bennett. Ramey, welcome back.
Hi, what's up? Welcome. Thank you for having me.
And to the right, of course, as always, Mr. Marcus Herring. Marcus, welcome.
Hello. I don't think you need to thank us anymore, Ramey. I think
right.
this is just...
This is it?
Accepted.
You're hired. You're hired.
You never know. I'm walking on thin ice.
Right. If you thank us one more time, though,
yes,
then you're in trouble.
You're the Jason Newsted of this organization. All right, everybody. Very excited because, of course, if you haven't been paying attention, we're in the middle now of our one fucking year series, sort of celebrating that we've reached 150 episodes of the show, which is just fucking insane. 2 weeks ago was episode 150, and so we launched this year-long series we're doing, where we're doing one film per year in accordance with the episode number. So 2 weeks ago was 150. We did a film from 1950, Sunset Boulevard. Mm-hmm. Last week was episode 151. We did A Place in the Sun, which was awesome, from 1951 last week in the archives, if you haven't seen that. So this week is 1952, and this was tough to select a film from 1952. We looked at a lot of movies, looked at a lot of your considerations and recommendations, and it was tough. I mean, we looked at The Bad and the Beautiful, Ramey, which was a great.
Always a classic.
Always a classic, little Kirk Douglas action, which I'm sure we'll get to at some point here as the years unfold. But that was very close thematically to Sunset Boulevard in a way you could say. We looked at Forbidden Games, the French film.
I love that movie.
Fucking gut punch, dark, traumatizing film with a lot of dead animals being thrown around.
Children throwing little...
I wasn't sure if we wanted to go there, but it's a great film if you haven't seen it. What else did we look at? Wasn't there a couple other films we looked at? Oh, we looked at Europa 51 by Rossellini.
Yeah.
Great film. Again, just, but I was looking for something more. And I saw this movie for the first time, tonight's movie. I had not seen it before and was blown the fuck away. Because tonight, and I'm just surprised, this is not a movie people talk about that much, or I feel like it's very under-discussed, very interesting filmmaking, and of course, Joan Crawford is incredible. We're talking for 1952, of course, episode 152 of the show. We're doing Sudden Fear. Yes, directed by household name director David Miller. JK, no one knows who the fuck that is. But we're going to get into it. So David Miller's Sudden Fear is going to be tonight's film. Definitely, if you have not seen this movie, you should check it out. It was awesome. I really liked it a lot. So
I actually saw it at Film Forum a few years ago because they had done like a remaster of it.
Oh, nice.
And I'd never really heard of it before, and it was just one of those that I was like, okay, this is now on my radar. It's just like a very fun
I think it did go through, which we'll get into, a little bit of a renaissance rediscovery because it was unavailable for so long, and I think time forgot this movie in many ways. So we're going to get into that. Also, one observation we had about it, which is just very funny, is that, we always talk about snappers around here. Of course, the paper DVD snapper cases. All the movies that were in snapper DVD cases back in the 90s, early 2000s seem to have a similar, feel and flavor to them. A lot of sort of like, government thrillers, erotic thrillers, that sort of thing. We've done episodes talking about snapper films.
You could buy them at the gas station or in CVS in those bins by the checkout line.
Right. And tonight's film really felt like a proto-snapper in many ways.
Totally.
And you could really anticipate that this could have been remade in the 90s, and I'm shocked that it didn't. It really could have. So I want people in the comments, of this video to be, if you were to recast Sudden Fear in the 90s as a snapper DVD thriller, who would you cast in the leads? I want Jack Palance, I want Joan Crawford, and Gloria Graham. Who would you pick for those three in the 90s? All right. All right, so that's your challenge for this week. But let's get in first to a quick little shout out, of course, to the 1 fucking hour Patreon. Yes. The 1 fucking hour Patreon is where you can sign up for just $5 a month at patreon.com/1 fucking hour. It's the best way to support the show, and of course also to support our 1 fucking hour brother, Tom Fitzgerald, of course, who's on medical leave from the show right now. 100% of all the money from Patreon is going to go directly to Tom in his pursuit to get better. But if you sign up in exchange for that, you get access to all of our bonus episodes. We have a new bonus ep up right now where we looked at the top 100 films of the 21st century as told by the New York Times. And we got a little based. We got a little red-pilled in terms of our look at all of these. I'm just kidding. In terms of all the looking at all these movies. So it's a very fun, entertaining watch. But maybe we were a little too honest about how we feel about these movies. Anyway, that's
Black
up there.
pilled, I think.
Black-pilled. That's what I was looking for. Jesus Christ. Okay. Either one. So that's up there on the Patreon. Or if you want all your bonus content to live on YouTube, you can scroll underneath this video, find the join button, and sign up there. Same price, same benefits, same perks. Supports Tom all the same, and we really appreciate it. So yeah, get up there on the Patreon or become a moment of the YouTube channel. And did I mention you get 24-hour early access to every show? And I've been putting up these shows mega early, so it's been at least 48 hours early. You get the jump on these episodes. So if you want to see the episodes before everybody else does, that's the best way to do it. So, all right, thanks, everybody. I'm ready. I'm loaded for bear on this subject, so I think we should just dive right into Sudden Fear. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
Okay, where's that clock? Hold on 1 second. I got to get it ready here. All right, everybody, brace yourselves. There we go. Oh, good. Crack a beverage. We're going in. Oh. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right, let's do a little synopsis action here on Sudden Fear. Okay, in Sudden Fear from 1952, Myra Hudson, played by Joan Crawford, is a wealthy heiress and a successful Broadway playwright who fires struggling actor Lester Blaine, played by Jack Palance, someone we're going to be talking about a lot tonight for his extreme skull that is very present in this film. But yeah, so he fires struggling actor Lester Blaine from her play. By chance, they reconnect on a train where a rapid, intoxicating romance leads to marriage. After the wedding, Lester secretly reunites with his former lover, Irene, played by Gloria Graham, and the two begin plotting to kill Myra for her fortune and her inheritance, of course. Myra discovers their plan when she accidentally hears a recorded conversation revealing their intentions before she can update her will. Forced to hide her knowledge, she prepares a deadly counter-move in a high-stakes psychological battle inside her own home and out in the streets of San Francisco. So that is the movie here. Very snapperish, I said, in tone. But this is just like I said, this was super fresh to me, man. I mean, obviously the term Hitchcockian gets thrown around a lot these days, but there's some sequences in this movie, man, that really do evoke that Hitchcock pure visual storytelling, that suspense. And I love that. I love, especially I think it's kind of rare in a sense for a film like this early, to rely on sequences that sometimes get up to 5-8 minutes with no dialogue. It's that pure sort of like cinema storytelling. And I love that. I think that's so cool. And it's no secret, it's no mystery, I should say, you could see why the French New Wave directors, who were writing for Cahiers du Cinema at the time, really latched onto this. Francois Truffaut, I was going to say, Francois Truffaut himself said, quote, "There is not a shot in this film that isn't necessary to its dramatic progression, and that every single shot in the film is fascinating." So I think you can see these guys are responding to that sort of film economy in terms of the storytelling. Yeah, and I said very snapperish, very sophisticated, in my opinion. And so, yeah, very excited to talk about it. But Raimi, I know you wanted to start with the obvious, that this is a Joan Crawford starring film. She's incredible in the movie, and we're going to talk a lot about her. But of course,
I'll try not to take up too much time because there's so much to talk about when it comes to Joan.
Yeah.
But I thought, if we're going to do old Hollywood, it would be remiss not to feature her heavily in terms of what a huge impact she had and how so much of her kind of the idea of her in our collective consciousness has also been informed by things like Mommy Dearest, the hagsploitation genre, Straitjacket, Baby Jane, which is incredible, obviously.
Yes.
But, there's ways that her reputation in later years kind of was sullied and overshadowed a bit. Her incredible acting, business acumen, sort of incredible perseverance and in the industry for the 20s up until,
I mean, it's pretty
60s.
Sorry to interrupt, but it's pretty fair to say that Mommy Dearest, shout out from the early 80s, which maybe we should do once we get to the 80s. Really is something that this portrayal of her as this child abusing maniac in this film is really something that kind of destroyed her legacy in many ways.
It's like if you know anything about her, it's that movie.
Right.
Oh, and the wire hangers, that's like
the wire hangers,
the pop cultural thing that everyone remembers.
Yes.
Right.
No wire hangers!
Right. And it's also just shout out to Frank Perry, who directed Mommy
Yes.
Dearest, because he
we
also
love him.
did The Swimmer from the archive.
Shout out.
Definitely. And I mean, it's interesting because, it's, how something fictional sometimes bleeds so much into our understanding of what's real and what's not. And I think, like we were saying earlier, Faye Dunaway, it's such an incredibly amazing,
off the rails,
kabuki, off the rails. I mean, it's a camp classic beyond, John Waters, one of his favorite movies. So I highly recommend it because it's fucking incredible. And it's like 80s doing 30s.
Yeah,
and it looks nothing like the 1930s. And it's a horror movie, basically.
It's almost like her Faye Dunaway's inspired, performance has sort of dominated. That's what you think of when I think of Joan Crawford. I think of Faye Dunaway.
I know.
Now, right? Almost like Martin Landau as Bela Lugosi.
Yeah.
You know what I was going to say is because it's very OFH related. It's more like Val Kilmer as Jim Morrison.
Right, that's actually kind of true. You're taking those little stupid anecdotes from the movie, and thinking that that's really what Jim Morrison was doing.
Yes.
Come on, let's get some tacos.
But
That's like that, right?
100%.
Totally.
So you're saying Mommy Dearest is not
accurate.
Right.
Yeah.
And
yes.
And so anyway, coincidentally,
Word on the street.
I had been doing a deep dive on Joan kind of a couple months ago just for fun. I was rewatching a lot of her lesser known noirs from the 40s. And as a kid, I was obsessed with Grand Hotel, which was 1932. And she plays this young shop girl. She's so charismatic and very naturalistic. And she was playing working women at the time. But, when she was at MGM in the 20s as a chorus line girl during
a flapper, right?
Yeah. Doing silent films, and then she was discovered on a chorus line, made a deal with MGM, and then famously F. Scott Fitzgerald after seeing Our Dancing Daughters basically coined this kind of term around her as being the ultimate flapper girl.
Wow.
And then she became incredibly successful in these early movies.
Flapmaster General.
She was one of the biggest stars at MGM in the 30s, which is crazy. But I just want to say too, last night I went to an event at MoMA.
This is crazy. You went to a Joan Crawford event last night as we're recording this.
Yeah.
It was really crazy. And
well, they're all over. They're sweeping the nation.
Yeah, right. Yeah, of course. Yeah. You can go see Melania over here and then go to the Joan Crawford.
I was torn. I was torn. But I was I only wanted to support and give money to one of these ventures.
Melania.
But before the movie started, there was
so what was it
footage.
exactly? What was the event?
It was a screening of Autumn Leaves, which is another Robert Aldrich movie before Baby Jane came out.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating. Cliff Robertson. It's about mental illness. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But before the movie, her grandson screened this incredible footage of home movies of her from the 30s up until the late 40s.
Cool.
And it shows this totally different side of her. Very kind of rough and tumble, down to earth, hilarious, funny. So it was interesting seeing that.
Not wire hanger threatening.
Not wire
maniac,
hangers, or even that she got very almost like just intense and rigid in a weird way, like almost like a mask. Her face.
That's why it's believable. I think the mommy dearest like
it's
accusations or whatever, because she looks.
Yeah.
Well, she's a very strong woman anyway, but she's got these really intense eyes and like
right.
Yeah. And I think the thing
it,
too with her that's so important is the way, like, well, she grew up like very like hard scrabble upbringing, worked since she was a tiny child, grew up in poverty without a father, was literally working in every kind of job you can imagine as like a little kid up into her teenage years. And then throughout her career as an actress, she was really integral in the way that like her her career was transforming with the times. When she was, fired from MGM, she went to Warner Brothers. She helped like really, push herself to get Mildred Pierce.
Right. Because she was like overexposed, right? And then she became like box office poison.
They called her box office poison.
Yeah, she had this a whole trajectory where, she was on the top of her game, during, she was in the silent era, as we mentioned. And then she was on top.
She looked incredible. She did. As a flapper.
She did. Really cool.
Amazing.
And then, in the 30s, she's, on the top of her game, one of the biggest actresses in Hollywood. Then she gets on the box office poison list and then slowly basically crawls completely back to the top with Mildred Pierce, which is
at one
amazing.
point when she lost her contract at MGM before she went to Warner's, she was like, she lost her money. Like she was like unemployed.
Wow.
She was literally like cooking, going to the farmer's market, like had to like let go of her help, like, horrible. But, and then
First world problems.
They made her do a screen test at Warner's for Mildred Pierce, but she was just like, this is the role.
Yeah.
She was, and like what Joan Crawford was doing so much in her career was like playing this woman that so many women at the time could like relate to. It was about a working woman, who was juggling all these roles at the time of being a mother, wanting to be financially stable. And one of the quotes I read
during the
was,
Great Depression, right?
Right, coming out of the Great Depression, then World War II, then the post-war. It's like women's roles and the idea of like being this domestic goddess while trying to be independent and having your own personal ambition. These women pictures were really exploring that. And Joan really became the actress that was like portraying that. And one of the film critics said Joan Crawford personified the dreams and disappointments of the American woman over 4 decades. And so, the melodramas and women pictures and noir she was doing, she was really representing like almost like the everyday woman in America. So they really saw themselves in her, and she was pulling from her real life experience of working super hard and struggling and always overcoming these obstacles.
Right. And she's also somebody that, throughout her time in Hollywood, had a lot of clout and control over the projects that she was doing and director approvals and certain things like that, which is interesting getting into this project, because now I think we should pivot here into the film. Is what's interesting about this film is she read the book. It's based on essentially like a crime, sort of Pulp Fiction, crime novel. And she read it and fell in love with it. She read it in one sitting. She thought it was incredible. And she went out and says, like, I want to make this into a movie. I think this would be perfect. And she went to pursue the producer of this film who owned the rights, who was an independent producer. He wasn't with a studio, but he owned the option of this book. So this film, even though it's an RKO film in the beginning, it was only distributed by RKO, but it was not a studio-financed film, which I think is very interesting. This is an independent film we're watching.
Which is a new thing at the time, where people were realizing we want more like autonomy.
Yeah, right, which is interesting. And then this is also Joan in between being under contract with the studio. So she's also a free agent. So this is just an interesting a setting to make.
She sort of packaged this film together.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And she had won the Oscar for Mildred Pierce. That was another career high. Coming back from the dead. And then there was a little bit of a lull after Mildred Pierce. And then this was the next movie that she was like, I'm going to package this. She was really a producer.
She is a
producer. It's funny because that's what she is in this movie too.
I know.
She's like an ex-play actor who is like writing her own, producing her own plays.
Totally.
Now, and
who's like this very successful, like
powerful
career woman, which is interesting to see.
She's showing herself on screen the way that she wants the public to see her again.
Exactly.
Wildly successful producer.
So let's get into it here. So the very first in the opening credit sequence, we're seeing shots of a ticking clock, going by, which is going to be a strong visual motif that reappears a lot in the film. We're starting with that. And again, it's hard not to notice this too, because it says so much about Joan. It says so much about the movie. But there is a credits block that takes up the entire screen of people who are part of her wardrobe unit on this picture,
love that. I
which
love
is so amazing. You know, like we know if you have what did you say, Raimi? If there's a wardrobe credit,
If there's an entire title card dedicated to your wardrobe, then you know you're like a star.
yes,
Exactly.
exactly. And they get
awesome.
and they get billing like before like next to the cinematographer and shit. It's amazing.
Right. I heard that she was so like the clothes like even played into the behind the scenes like lore of this film too. Like she's really competitive with
Gloria
Gloria Graham.
yeah.
And so she made her clothes all be like off the rack kind of stuff.
I love that.
That's incredible.
I love the pettiness of her, and that comes to. There's other areas we can talk about that as the film we go on. But anyway, so opening scene. Talk about economy here. This opening scene is terrific because it lays out all the essentially Jack Palance's character, her character, their exposition, their backstory so efficiently. It basically, we open and it's a rehearsal for one of, Myra's plays. And she's sitting there watching Jack Palance rehearse this scene. And again, it's also economic and interesting because it's also thematically in service of, what this film's ultimately going to be about, because we're seeing the rehearsal of a, fictitious story and the roles people are playing and the sort of artifice behind that, because that's going to play a lot into later Joan and Jack's sort of dynamic and how they are always constantly performing to each other.
True.
But we learn that she's a successful playwright and she's also an heiress, so she's very wealthy. And what's humorous about this is that, sort of Jack Palance here is like kind of meta casting here.
Yeah.
Because she's essentially saying, who the fuck is this guy? What's up with that face?
Yes.
And it's weird because obviously I remember Jack from other films and City Slickers and I never clocked though like in his prime just how gnarls that face is, man. It's
he was in the 80s, 90s. He was very like weathered, like face bald.
He grew into the face,
thing. But he looked insane to me then, and scary to me.
I mean,
and
Evan,
Batman and Young Guns and stuff, and he looks very
Young
stiff
Guns.
too a lot of times.
Dude, it was crazy.
But Evan, you were scared. Like I feel like when
I
we were
was
watching
scared.
this,
There's
you were-
some of these like profile shots of him where like his eyes get lost in the crater of his cheekbone and like he just looks
His
like
chin
monstrous.
comes out very far.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's really far. It's just it's just
Someone said it was like the face of the moon, like craters on the moon, and like.
yeah. Well,
But
Marcus,
it is very.
you sent us a photo of
Skeletor
Skeletor.
and it really from the movie, of course.
from the 87.
Yeah, from the Masters of the Universe movie. And and I'm looking at old reviews of Jack in this movie, and I heard like people referring to him as the walking skull was one of the...
Well, and Hedda Hopper said when she found out this movie was in development, oh my God, Joan Crawford has cast a man who could play Frankenstein with no makeup.
Yeah.
And so people were really
Yeah.
dissing him.
I
It's
heard-
weird because
Yeah.
it fits into the. I mean, it's so apparent they had to address it in the movie.
I
Yes. know.
They're like, he
I
doesn't
know.
look right for the part.
It's so,
yeah.
so meta.
It
But
is.
I was reading about the David Miller, right? That's the director.
David Miller?
He had really wanted Jack Palance because Jack Palance was one of these like kind of awesome New York theater guys.
Yeah.
Who
He's
was
terrific
working
in this
off
movie.
Broadway, method actor, Lee
Yeah.
Strasberg kind of type. And so he had been discovered by Ilya Kazan on off Broadway. David Miller also was like, we got to get this guy. And then at first, Joan Crawford was like devastated.
Hell no.
She was crying. She was like, why would you? This is so insulting. Like, how dare you? I'm like so upset. And she said she was he said she was crying so much that he actually felt like really sympathetic for her and was like, and he said like, listen, give
That's
this
hilarious.
a shot. And like, I need you to not come across as like playing both leads as like the masculine domineering figure. I need someone who's so foreboding almost
He
and
is,
domineering as a man that he can almost dwarf you.
Yeah.
and make
She
you
wanted
more.
Clark Gable, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Like that's
interesting.
Who she wanted.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and that would have never happened.
But yeah,
And
he has this sense of just like, just given his extreme features, he has this built-in sort of menace that
Yeah.
really
phenotype.
Yes.
Like
I mean,
phrenology.
other reviews were saying a quote nightmare in cheekbones.
so easy.
I heard.
and it's kind of bold. Sorry.
I heard "Son of Elephant Man."
No, Evan.
No, I'm just kidding.
You made that up.
No, I didn't.
That's horrible.
I heard he is the full evolved Pokemon of Big Ed from Twin Peaks.
Oh my god. Okay, now
That was in the original review.
Yes. No.
Had a Hopper corner.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, but we love him, and he's amazing in this movie. I mean, he really, truly is incredible in this movie.
And he was a boxer. So, like, just super quick on him. He was
Right.
born in like coal miner, Pennsylvania. Like his dad was a coal miner. He went away. He went away to the war. Got into a accident, a
Right.
plane crash. Maybe his face was slightly disfigured, and then he was a professional
Oh,
boxer.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see like behind his ear, there's like some, like scar tissue or something.
Yeah. And he
yeah.
was boxing, so it's
Yeah,
kind of like
he's-
that Mickey Rourke
Yeah.
thing. Where you're
Well, I
like,
was like
"Whoa!"
blown away. His name's not Jack Palance. You know,
Yeah.
it's like Vladimir Polonov.
I know.
Right, he's like a Ukrainian. I think.
Yeah.
So anyway, very interesting choice. I think that
Yeah.
alone makes this movie stand out. It's like, ooh, that
Yeah.
was a bold choice.
Bold choice.
And really pays off in spades. 'Cause
Yeah.
you kind of, once you're won over,
Yeah.
once she's won over.
We're one over too.
Did
There's
he
like
win?
this.
He won an Academy Award for this, right? Or was nominated?
I think he was nominated.
He was nominated.
I don't
and
think
she
he
was
won.
nominated. I'm
Yeah, I
not
think they
sure
were
if
nom- they were
won, but yeah,
nom-
they
was
both
nommed.
nominated.
But let's
So-
get into it. So, okay,
Yes.
in this scene, he's rehearsing. She's like, I don't know. I don't know about this guy's face, essentially. She's not saying it directly like that, but she's not into his look and decides.
Did say that.
She kind of does.
Or does she? Okay, all right. She says
Yeah.
whatever she says.
He sounds romantic enough, just doesn't look romantic.
And then and fires him for it, which is a unique twist on of course, how many women haven't gotten roles for parts like that based upon superficiality of their appearance, and so it's an
And
interesting.
Joan got to take that
I know.
little
Yeah.
role reversal
Exactly.
of rejecting
So-
a man because of his.
Right, exactly. So then there's an altercation in this scene where Lester confronts her and insists you must go and see what Casanova really looked like. He looks like this, but again, it's a perfect way to open the film to describe kind of where these two characters are coming from and setting the sort of the scene for this.
And the
whole-
resentment too that's like building
In Lester.
in him.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
seeing this very powerful, successful,
Totally.
woman at the height of her career
Sure.
having the power to reject him.
Right.
I'm sure there was some ego there too of like, I'm
For
gonna
sure.
cut her down.
Yeah.
Right.
So then, as the movie progresses, she's after she's done there with the rehearsals. She's taking a train from New York City back to San Francisco, and while on the train, she sees that Lester is also going to be boarding the same train. So it's a very interesting plot element that's going to trap these two people together. It's a good way to kind of plant the seed of what their intensity as people are, to kind of enclose them in this space that they can't leave, really. So then, of course, they notice each other. She's very kind to him. She offers him a seat next to her. And he has this extensive knowledge of the theater. And so he's sort of charming her with his knowledge of different plays and playwrights and things like that.
Like
They're both quoting like
Othello?
Shakespeare. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is funny because this plot is like
And
Similar.
Macbeth.
Hollywood aiming at
Totally.
Shakespeare.
And
Yes.
Gloria Graham said that to prepare for her role, she was reading Macbeth and Othello
Wow.
as
Right.
a way to like model
Lady
her.
Macbeth. Is
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So then we sort of see that their relationship, there's more flirtation there.
Yeah.
They dine together, and Crawford's got a really great subtle performance that she's delivering in these scenes because she goes from just being kind of nice and professional to her facial features, and what she's indicating is that there's something more there, that she's more interested and more charmed by this guy, and now kind of falling for him in a sense.
What she's doing with her face, by the way, we'll obviously explore this more as the
Yeah.
movie goes on. But, to her credit in terms of what she learned in the silent movie films that
Yeah.
she did, and talking about Gloria Swanson too in Sunset Boulevard. I mean, she does so much with
So
her
much.
fucking
Yeah.
expressions and body movements and flickering of her eyes. Like even in that train sequence, she runs the entire gamut of all these different emotions.
Yeah.
And when she finally melts and is starting to fall in love, like it's all
Yeah.
there on her face without her saying
I know,
really a word.
which is so complementary to the pure cinema sort of visual storytelling of that the director is implementing. So to have an actress like this who
Yeah.
can communicate so much just through the image of her facial features is incredible. Okay, so then what happens is Lester decides he's going to follow her all the way to San Francisco, changes his ticket. He was going to get off in Chicago, but decides to follow her all the way there. And there's cool little shot choices where we see them both in profile as their sort of infatuation is growing. We see them in profile, and it's kind of these separate shots. They're always filmed separately. Then there's a moment where they share the frame together, and it's sort of it's profile shots of them both, and it kind of looks like, okay, these two now are engaged in a showdown, because this whole film is going to be, as it unfolds, more of a showdown between the two in several different ways.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. So then, to keep it moving here, they arrive in San Francisco, and now by this point, she's really fallen in love with him. They go dancing. Then we see her house. She brings him home. Beautiful high ceilings, probably Pacific Heights area, San Francisco. And we see him pause and really take this all in, which of course is important as this thing, go ahead.
Oh, it's really great just to see all the external shots of San Francisco in this movie,
Absolutely. And obviously so many noirs and Hitchcock films and whatever would be set in San Fran too.
I mean, Basic Instinct, Pacific Heights, Jagged Edge.
Snappers,
there's so many San Francisco
this could have been
90s,
another
80s thrillers. So this is a little bit of like a, precursor to
it is.
Because how the city sort of lends itself to that.
I know. It's pretty amazing. So, okay, then she brings Lester into her office where she does all of her writing and shows all that. And this is amazing too, because she's this wealthy woman, single, solo, powerful, in what she does. And he's coming in and taking this all in.
Like at the time, that was so rare.
Unique. Very unique.
It's crazy, like we take that for granted. And I think there's something interesting about almost the vulnerability, the tightrope that a woman would have to walk who possessed that kind of status and autonomy, and that like it's almost like letting her guard down would be such a big deal, because I feel like she's probably protective of that, and men coming and being sort of conniving.
Sure.
So I think like the fact that she melted with this man and let her guard down. Yeah. It makes it even sadder.
Yes.
Plus he looks scary.
Yeah.
And he's terrifying.
Yeah. So, so she's in the office, but she shows him about this custom-made dictation machine that she has gotten commissioned. That's in her office, where she can sort of it auto records, and being a sort of knowledgeable film viewer, that there's heavy foreshadowing.
It might come into play later.
It might come into play, but I think that's intentional. They know that. But it's great. So you're like, okay, how is this going to be used? And this film has a lot of gimmicks, and I'm glad for that. Because there's like
a trio of gimmicks.
There's a lot of gimmicks, and that's very fun to watch. So, and again, would be so repeated in the 90s with the Snappers. So we learned about this dictation machine where, she can just, basically walk around her office, dictate things, and it'll automatically record it. Love the production design of it as well, the art direction, where it's like a weird eagle like clutching like a microphone is like what the actual microphone looks like. It's very bizarre. But she sort of demonstrates it for Lester, and there's a great there's another motif that's going to play where it's like they hear back the recording, and it's just all about their facial features and the intensity of kind of longing and passion that they look into each other, as this recording is playing back, and that's just. That's obviously foreshadowing for what's going to happen later on.
And the fact that he's such like an actor grifter.
I know.
Like he's using this grand performance of like declaring his love over the dictaphone.
Yes.
It's cool to get a chance to hear it twice too.
Yes.
I think that's like almost like a art film or something.
It's true.
Like hearing it, the repetition, and then seeing a different visual played underneath
it. Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
And that is an interesting thing. Like we don't know yet. We know something's up with him. That's not right.
We don't know.
He's a little too charming, but I do like how it plays out. This idea of a actor who can be a con man is very interesting as a concept.
He does kind of reveal himself on the train, because he tells the conductor like, when can I get off or whatever, right?
Exactly.
So
Something's up. Yeah.
Exactly. So now we get to the scene where she's having this big party at her house, and but of course Lester's not there, and she keeps phoning him to try and be like, where is he? And he's not here. What's going on?
And she's like under his thumb already.
Yes.
And that's
and he
very
knows
disturbing
this.
to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, he knows this. And so then we cut to Lester in his apartment, and he's just ignoring these phone calls. And this is really the first noirish scene in this film, where she decides to then, ditch the party and drive over to his house because it's driving her insane. And she goes into his house, and he's looking out the window, making sure she arrives there. So there's total manipulation at play here.
And you see the true version of him for the first time. Like,
Exactly.
he's kind of more what's the word? Slimy in his like shitty bed,
Plotting.
whatever. Like you're kind of so I see the real.
There's something going
Lester.
on here.
Yeah.
And so then of course she walks into the building as he's exiting. Another motif that's going to show up in this film is these dramatic sequences taking places on staircases, and this is the first of many, where he's at the top of the staircase and he's sort of pretending like I'm not good enough for you. I'm just some kid, and he's again continuing the manipulation to try and get her to really accept him.
And he's super smart because he's playing into that idea that maybe she originally had a fear that a man would take advantage of her. So he's playing into that. So it's like, okay, that's ruled out. I can trust this guy.
Yes.
So it's very savvy.
Yeah, that's what he does in the train, right? Because the conductor's like, should I close the door? And he's like, no, it doesn't matter. And then she does this look like, you're not going to try to close the door and like leave us together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she's sort of like, it shows her being all like,
taken off guard, disarmed.
Disarmed.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
So he's playing this really well. Like every beat of this manipulation, he's playing really well.
Really well, because to try and push her into a marriage scenario of some kind or something. So then it cuts from this sequence once, she fully accepts him and vice versa to Myra's summer home. So again, she's coming from a lot of money. She's got this summer home. And we were listening to the audio commentary track of this film, which is great on the Blu-ray. And the guy doing the commentary was pointing out the fact that when we see her in bed and he's up and he's like, dressing and she's still in bed, she's playing this look. Of course, everything had to be very, in subtext and subtle and whatever, for the code at the time and stuff. But she's playing it as she's just been sexually satisfied by him for the first time, which is a little scary.
Which is another form of manipulation. Like, there's something, I feel like this reminds me of another movie where it's like, maybe even like Unfaithful, like when it's like the older woman who's like been very kind of like chaste in her
She hasn't had
life.
sex in a long time
And
like
then
this.
she's been like fucked for the first time, really good by someone. And then
Please bleep that.
Marcus don't like that at all.
Oh no. And then she's like putty in this man's hand. So it's like
Literally.
So it's like another level of this kind of
Skeleton
sick
putty.
manipulation.
He
where
does say that later. Like someone's like later on. I don't want to no spoilers, but when Irene says later, "Do you think she suspects anything?" He's like, "Not the way I make love."
Exactly.
To her.
Yeah, which is
But
pretty.
doesn't he talk about like breaking her bones?
Well, no,
or something?
that's Irene. We'll get to that. But yeah, and so it's pretty suggestive for the time and a little in terms of the sexuality of the film. So anyway, she's fully roped in now, right? And then they leave bed, they go down to the water, and this is interesting because it's more foreshadowing of staircases as they go down these rocky steps leading to the water, and he shouts the line,
It's a precipice.
"It's a precipice," which is very weird. But it's foreshadowing of staircases because you think as a trained viewer that something's going to happen on a staircase, and he's going to try.
I like that too. Yeah, like it's sort of like Chekhov's staircase.
It is.
And it sort of sets you up.
It is
to be that it sets your expectation to be focused on that. But it's really like a misdirection.
It is because they pay it off in a very clever way.
And this is very Hitchcock too. It reminds me of Suspicion too with Cary Grant, where he's the husband and you're deciding the whole time, is he going to kill his wife?
I know.
And how is he going to do it? And
Smart.
so it's like these are these interesting little clues that are kind of like red herrings.
It's
like,
very smart. It's very
is this
fun.
the moment it happens? Is this how it's going to?
Yeah, it's very fun. So, okay, now we cut back to San Francisco. There's another big party that she's at with Lester, and Lester then now notices entrance of Gloria Graham, someone he clearly knows from a different life. And on the commentary track, the commentary guy was saying that one film critic writing about the character of Irene, played by Gloria Graham, called her, quote, a slightly nervous baby-faced tramp with the mind of a sewer and the voice of a squeaky doll. Love that as a way to describe her performance in this film.
And we love Gloria Graham. She's amazing.
She's been in every single movie we've watched the last couple of weeks. Rami and I. It's amazing. But anyway.
She's a great bad girl. Like she always plays like this kind of like slinky, tart, conniving, sexy bad girl.
Yep. And she's amazing in The Big Heat. Of course, highly recommend
In a
that
Lonely
film.
Place.
In a Lonely
Oh my God.
Place as
Jesus
well, too.
Christ.
We almost did that film, too. Okay, so then Lester notices her, and then he confronts her, at the place that she's staying, her apartment, because she basically moved to San Francisco or saw in the paper. No, I think she might have already been there, but she saw in the paper that Lester had married this heiress. And so she knows something's up with that. And she decides to seek him out to kind of maybe blackmail him or expose him in some way, because she's also very conniving in her own way. But this is a real
Was
scene.
she his ex-wife or something? Because there was something with the ring earlier when she's like, "Is that a wedding ring?"
I think so. There's they had history. There's history for sure. But now
And they were kind of like small time crooks together.
Yes, because that's
their vibe.
That's also revealed. But we see Lester basically breaking into her apartment. We see this violent and more extreme side of him.
Yeah.
But of course, she's able to diffuse him. And sort of
there's that very sexy moment where she like almost like, sorry guys,
very
like,
sexy,
like,
Marcus.
Like, sorry, no, she like almost opens her legs.
Well, she's on the couch in this shot where it's behind Lester and he's up on the stairs again, and she's down on this couch. It's very suggestive. And then he closes the door on the camera to kind of infer that.
And for that
back
time,
together.
once again, like for the codes and everything, like it's palpable. I feel like this movie definitely has a erotic thriller.
There's a lot of sex in it for sure.
Yeah, it's got like a
Definitely.
sexual energy
It's a
that's
sexy
very obvious. Well, because even
film.
let's say this was in the '90s. Imagine the sex.
Oh
scenes.
my God!
Imagine, can you imagine?
But I mean, like between the Gloria Graham character, we're saying it could be like it could be like a Madonna and Willem Dafoe.
Yes,
in that movie.
That's a good
with
example.
She pours the wax on her body.
Yes. Oh, it would be. Yeah, it would have some crazy. Like you see the candle wax scene, and
They would have, They would have another like gimmick.
They would have a gimmick. Yeah,
because there's
totally.
something really seedy about this like trope
The
of like the
margarine-
two con artists, like like the two con artists together when you see them in their kind of gross, grimy, true selves, like the kind of evil of who they are. There's something just like very grimy about that.
Yes. So to keep it moving forward, Lester confronts her again, Irene, but this time at that Legion of Honor building in San Francisco, which is obviously famous in Vertigo, just from a few years later. But he confronts her about basically now he's realized that, I believe I have this right, that Irene is dating Myra's lawyer's son. So she's getting kind of close into the world of his orbit. But then, of course, Lester melts again to Irene, and they decide to plot that they're going to work together again, alluding to some sort of criminal conniving past. And he now wants to find out more about Myra's money. Can she figure it out from this lawyer's son?
Yeah, and what's going on with the will, and if she dies, who gets the money, and all that stuff.
So then we cut to, again, that scene of Myra talking to her lawyer and getting her finances in order. And this is where it's revealed, as she says into the dictaphone. She's saying that she is going to basically reassign all the royalties from her plays to Lester. If she dies, he gets the real estate and all the holdings. There's even a great shot where it cuts where you can see the lawyer in the mirror being like, I don't know about this,
like, no.
Yeah.
but she's doing it, and that's what happens.
That's
and
the great irony, right?
Right, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
If he'd done nothing, he would have been fine.
Yes, right. And so then there's a party, something going on, and Lester and Irene are there. But we see now Lester taking Irene and sneaking her into the office room with the dictaphone. Okay, so we know something's going on there. And then it cuts now to, this is the big scene of the film. This is a huge, huge moment, and it's really, truly breathtaking. This is when Myra is listening back to the dictaphone, and she's almost, and this whole scene is like 5-ish plus minutes of just her listening and reacting.
Because prior to that, when it's Lester, did you explain that? When it's Lester and Irene, they're talking about the plan and they're making fun of her.
Yes.
And it's really sad and horrible. And so this
And
gets
we
recorded.
hear that.
It gets recorded into the dictaphone.
Yeah,
So when she goes back into the office to listen to it, first off, just to say, like, this is like you guys were about to say with her performance is fucking incredible here.
Yeah.
But we see the calibration from this like dreamy, romantic, like, eyes, starry eyes and love. And then when
it's like the joy that she has about, I'm giving all this stuff to my wonderful husband. And as she's hearing it back.
And then every emotion that could possibly be experienced is being played on Joan Crawford's face. Like
as soon as
it's incredulous, it's shock, it's dismay, it's worry, it's sadness, it's fear. It's like every fucking
Because
emotion.
she
While she's
realizes
processing that.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. We
While
see it
she's
all on her
processing.
face, and it's because obviously she realizes the dictaphone was still recording because they came into her office and said all that stuff.
Sometimes when I'm with her, it's all I can do to keep from saying, be yourself, wise up. Love you, I never loved you. Never for one moment.
And she's coming in, so it's these tight close-ups of her crying, and she hears them kissing. And this is even crazy when that's the moment when we hear Lester saying, you're so hot I could break your bones.
Kiss me. Hard.
Crazy about you, I could break your bones.
Or whatever, and that's what's really like.
And just the total humiliation that she's going through. Like, that's what's so heartbreaking about it. I mean, this scene obviously won her, this scene would be
This
Oscar.
is the big
This won
scene.
her the nomination.
Yeah.
I'd like to say.
But she's bringing, go ahead.
Oh, just some people have also pointed out that it's like it goes from her voiceover, basically like her own thoughts, you know, and then cuts over to somebody else's like thoughts and conversations invading your head,
So cool.
like reverse voiceover.
I love that. Yeah, I love it. And so what's interesting is, she's bringing out all of her silent movie chops here, where it's all in her, she's the amazing performance, as we've said. But the plot thing here is that Lester is saying, or Irene and Lester are talking about how they need to get rid of her by Monday, because if they do, then all the inheritance goes to Lester. And so what's amazing is then now we get some great stylistic flourishes here where we hear a repetition playing over and over again of the recording. That's like, I know a way, I know a way.
I know a way. I know a way. I know a way. I know a way.
I know a way.
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
Then, and then here's a trope too that is interesting. You'd see this in other films much later on, but she actually goes to the bathroom while she's hearing this and presumably throws up. And that's probably one of the earliest, throwing up reactions to information like this in a movie. And then
Another milestone.
Huge milestone. Puke milestone. And then she realizes, okay, I got to save this disc. I got to save the information.
The record, yeah.
This is it. This is the evidence. And she goes up and she's panicking and she goes to hide it in a book, perhaps. But then, of course, she drops it and it shatters, and we see her reaction to it shattering. And it's like, oh my God. Now the evidence is destroyed. And it's amazing. I mean, just a great, pure cinematic sequence here that has all the tension and drama that you could imagine with no dialogue. It's
the
amazing.
skill it takes in terms of like a performer to do something like that.
I know.
Pretty incredible.
It's fantastic. So now she's trapped in her house. She knows that she's living among a murderer who plans to kill her, and her home is a prison.
Couldn't she just call her lawyer back over and like change the will
think
back?
so.
And then like,
What? Not on a
I want to see
Sunday.
that movie.
Not on a Sunday, Marcus. Yeah. They don't work on the weekend.
No, she has to kill him.
Yeah.
I think she has to set her own plan.
Yes, of course.
But it is funny because initially I'm like, I would just call someone.
Yeah.
This is happening.
But of course, no.
But
it's
she
the weekend.
believes
She's a creative person.
Yeah.
she is a creative person. No, she wanted to use her skills as a writer.
That's right.
But it's interesting because then it's like she goes into this like interior world of like devising, and like you see her at night and like she stay up all night and the clock is ticking and she's cooking up this plan.
Yeah, I love that. Well,
And then
before.
Sorry, go
But I was just going to say, before that happens, we got to talk about this amazing nightmare scene.
A death montage.
Where
Oh,
it's
yes.
this incredible nightmare scene where it's scary music comes in. Again, more repetition from the dialogue of the tape playing, like
An accident. An accident.
Yeah.
with weird effects, weird, I don't know, reverb delay or something. And then there's a great shot of Joan behind a chaise lounge. So the camera's behind the chaise lounge, and she's soft focused, very odd, a framing, very abstract image for the time, I would say. And then, of course, there's that, we must find an accident replays.
It's like she's being haunted and like PTSD.
It's amazing. And then there's visuals of her falling off a building, nightmare images of her screaming and falling off a building, a car accident, being snuffed out with a
It's
pillow.
like Death Becomes Her is kind of like
It's amazing. You would
satirized.
so see that in the 90s Snapper. You would
It's
see this.
so great.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So
she screams awake. Lester opens the door and calls for her. Now everything's different. He tucks her in, and then like he offers her like sleeping pills, and she's like, no, and she gets freaked out over the idea of sleeping pills. But this is really now interesting because it pans over as he's now left her resting there. It pans over to her looking at the ticking clock, knowing that she's got only a handful of time to figure out what to do next. And as you were saying, she's been up all night thinking about this. And this is where it's really fun because the POV is now switching. At first, Myra didn't know about Lester and his intentions, but now Lester doesn't know about her intentions.
right. And at first, the audience is in on it and what Lester's doing. We're kind of waiting for her for the
Yes.
the shoe to drop with her to realize
Yes.
it. And now the tables have the cat and mouse game
Yep.
has now reversed.
Yes, exactly. And so, and now it's this idea of, she's going to start planning what she's going to do. She's going to now act as her own writer, producer of her own play to kind of write, as you said, like a creative scenario to get out of this situation.
And the skills like it's also kind of like a Basic Instinct where she plays a crime writer, but it's the opposite because she's a murderer.
Right.
But I love that idea of like
Yes.
the female crime writer is like using her
The crime
chops
writing.
as a writer to then devise these murders.
So snapper.
I love that. Yeah.
So good.
I started to get a little worried about her though, just out there like writing her own, setting her own plans up, and like she's going up against these two master criminals.
I know.
She's writing this sort of like a theatrical version of
And like the
how she
little
could catch
notes
people.
and the beautiful cursive, and it's
it's
all laid out very
It's so
beautifully.
fun. It's so fun. So then there's a great little moment where she gets up now, and I think she realizes she has the key, I think, to Irene's apartment, and she's trying to sneak it back into Lester's room as he's sleeping. But and this is a reverse of the scene we just saw before with her in bed and him coming into her. And so there's a lot of subtext going on in that scene as, Lester wakes up and she's talking to him. And she's acting normal and he's acting normal. They're both being completely disingenuous to each other and putting on performances for each other. And it's amazing. So this whole scene where she talks about, let's have a second honeymoon and let's go back to the summer house. And he gets excited because he's thinking this is my way to throw her down the stairs or do whatever, So it's a lot of subtext going in there and acted so superbly by both guys, or by both of them.
Yeah.
And so, but then she throws a twist into it because, before that we see Irene and Lester going to the summer house together, boasting that who they're sleeping with to get their plan moving forward.
Yeah, it's so sordid. They're going to
sordid.
have sexual relations at her summer house, right?
What the fuck?
So messed up.
So fucked up. And but we see great dialogueless scene, another great one where Myra is in San Francisco sneaking into Irene's apartment and sort of prop collecting all the things that she's going to need to pull off her plan, which is amazing. And she goes in, gets handwriting samples of, I guess, Irene's, to be able to learn her handwriting. So snapper. She finds the stationery, right? Exactly. She finds the wind-up dog, which we're going to talk about soon. Right. She goes in the closet, finds a music box. Under there is like some poison that she finds, and she finds a gun. This is all just really interesting noir, kind of almost dream-like, visual like iconography without like, I don't know, it's just great. I love it.
Okay, I'm going to have to say Blue Velvet.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Were you going to say that?
I was going to say, we were trying not to have a David Lynch reference this week.
We said whoever says David Lynch first this episode.
I said Big Ed.
loses.
I lost.
I said Big Ed earlier. So
No,
I guess I
because
lost.
when it's like breaking into the house, into Dorothy's house, and he's in the closet with the shed looking through.
So Blue Velvet.
I mean, and so much of Blue Velvet is harkening back to
I know, these movies. Of
these
course.
movies and the Eisenhower and all that shit.
Totally.
It's awesome.
We'll get there. So she learns how to forge Irene's handwriting, and she writes these letters one in Lester's handwriting, one in Irene's. That's going to get these two to exactly where she wants them to be to carry out her plan. But then Myra, she approaches Lester, says, "No, we're not going to the summer house," and he's all pouty about it because, I was going to kill you there, But again, more foreshadowing. That dialogue sequence happens on a staircase as well. So more just visual foreshadowing of that staircase that we're going to eventually see. But so what happens is Lester panics to Irene saying, "Shit, she changed the plans on us. We have to do something. We have to have an accident. What are we going to do? What are we going to do?" So it cuts to the dinner party that Myra wanted to go to instead of the summer house. And the suspense is now really driving forward here in this scene where she goes up to her bedroom and applies some makeup. Now she's the makeup artist of her own play. Yeah. And she's applying this sort of eye makeup onto her ankle to try and fake a ankle injury. And this is it. This is the moment.
She gets to have her sexy leg shot.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's right. Sexy Marcus. And now we see what the staircase foreshadowing was all about. She, again, pretending now as the actor, writer, director, costume designer, and now makeup artist of her own play, she's going to intentionally fall down the stairs and essentially sell an ankle injury to throw a wrench into the plan of Lester and Irene. And she's there, and they're all coming to her aid. Oh, now she can't go out to dinner. She's got to stay home. And of course, Lester's going to stay there with her. And this is amazing because it's at this point now where she's slipping a note into Irene's glove that Irene's going to see. That's where the forged note is. And she's, this is thinking it's Lester communicating to her and vice versa. It's amazing. And
she's really taking the power back. I mean, you think of a movie like Reversal of Fortune with Glenn Close and, Jeremy Irons. And there is the trope of the older rich woman and she really gets taken advantage of. Yep. And in this movie, she's like, fuck that. I'm going to outsmart you all. And it's cool to see her do this.
And I love that shot of when, Lester picks her up to bring her back up the stairs. And we just see this shot of Joan is she just has this look on her face oh my God, this is working. Oh my God. It's it's incredible. Yeah. It's amazing. So Lester then reads her to sleep because, she's pretending not to feel well. She falls asleep. And then this is amazing. This is incredible. Myra goes full Ferris Bueller, putting a pillow underneath the blanket.
That was in my notes too.
Sorry. I knew you were going to say that. But she's going to, of course, that trope of faking that she's still sleeping. But we get this incredible sequence here that's so ahead of its time. I guess it's of its time, but it's also just very visually I guess just the way they did it feels very ahead of its time, but it's her time schedule montage where she looks at her document of all the different places that she has to be and that Irene's going to be and that Lester's going to be, and this is her whole plan.
There's 3 layers going on. There's her eyes, and they're all overlaid, various, photographic overlays with her eyes, and then there's actions in the background, like what she's doing, and then in the middle, there's the sheets of paper, the time schedule, and then maybe the clock comes in.
Yeah.
3 layers going on. So it's really cool. And then also, this is my chance to say David Lynch because this moment to me was very season 3 Twin Peaks. When it goes to Cooper's eyes for a really long time. And
I know what you mean.
Yeah. I mean, I almost wonder if this is the direct reference for what
Interesting.
Whoa.
Interesting.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I also really liked.
Wouldn't be surprised.
I loved that it had a lot of life to it. It wasn't I was thinking back to the Cooper scene because it's just really flat. It's digital video. His eyes aren't moving, or whatever.
Yeah.
But here the camera's moving a little bit on her face.
Yes.
It just adds a little bit of visual interest into it. And
and you hear that heightened ticking clock sound design over it. And it's these 3 superimposed images, like you were saying. And this is her imagination of what her plan is. And it shows her in that iconic fur coat and the white scarf shooting fucking Lester, in Irene's apartment. And of course the whole plan is that she's going to frame Irene for that. And then you see fucking Irene walk into the apartment in her fantasy, screaming, and the screaming is really scary. Then there's this amazing dolly in shot of like Irene being charged for the murder and screaming.
You will be sentenced to death.
It's a total just masterful little sequence. Again, pure visual storytelling.
And the Hitchcock thing too, it's like, I don't think that's like overstated to say, because so much of the suspense is being created by this visual imagery.
I know. It's amazing. So then another great little moment is after this sequence, she gets up and she's now going to sneak out of her house, but Lester is still there. And she, puts the pillows under the blanket. Great little, this could have been a Hitchcock scene of the door opening. It's Lester coming in to check on her, but Joan is hiding behind the door, and it gets all the way.
Oh, there's a really great wraparound, like kind of dolly shot,
Yeah.
Like we're like we're supposed to be like in the corner, I think.
Yes.
Right? She's hiding behind the door.
Yep.
But the camera's further back, and it kind of like wraps around, and just this really striking visual way. Like, how do they do that?
Yeah, it's incredible. So then she manages to sneak out of her house, goes back to Irene's apartment, and she gets in there. Now, this is amazing. She's hiding from shadows in the windows and other people who are there. But this is, more silent movie star chops here come in when she hears Junior and Irene coming back home, and she hides in the closet, blue velvet. And then, but it keeps cutting to her holding the gun. Now she's too nervous to maybe carry out this plan. She's sweating profusely now that this is, real. The phone, now they leave and the phone rings. And the phone keeps ringing, and it's almost a heightened ring. And Myra comes out of the closet, but then she catches a look at herself in the mirror, realizing, what am I doing? I'm holding this gun. I can't go through with this, and that's a really interesting twist on what's happening here. Like, it obviously
that's
makes
her moral fiber there,
right?
Her moral
Exactly.
compass.
That is classic. Like, performance too. The director's like, look at the gun. Now look at yourself. Now look back
Look
at
at
the
the
gun.
mirror.
Now look at the mirror. Yeah, like.
Well, the audio commentary was pointing out that this is a full, like, solid minute and a half almost of that the director prolongs these shots, holding on Joan, going back to the mirror, cutting to the gun, realizing what she's doing. And most directors would have done this in 5 seconds, but they really play it up here. And she drops the gun. Lester walks in. It's super intense. He doesn't see the gun on the floor. And
this is real suspense here.
Yep.
This is no joke.
Now she's R. Kelly trapped in the closet, as all this is happening. But now this is a great little moment here. Lester is playing with the wind-up dog, okay? And he lets the wind-up dog go, and the dog starts crawling towards the
It's amazing.
herks and jerks over to the closet door. And this is amazing. Yes, that is evocative of like a Hitchcock thing. But to me, I was thinking like almost a Dario Argento, like Deep Red would sort of have something like that in there. Just a weird fixation on like a toy, that's really creepy and weird. And so I thought that was amazing.
It feels horror. Like there's parts of this that start to veer into
nightmarish.
Because it was also reminding me of Jamie Lee Curtis in the closet in Halloween. And then later on with Michael Myers like stalking her. Like it was kind of reminding me of
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's true.
So then the phone rings again. Lester picks it up, and it's that Junior guy looking for Irene. So Lester knows that Irene must be somewhere nearby. And then as soon as he goes to try and find her, he looks back and the closet door is open. Oh my God, that's scary for him. And he goes in the closet. That wasn't like that before. And he finds his handkerchief. He knows now it's Myra that's been there. And that's where we get into this really kind of, I don't know, this is pretty ambitious and, big feeling chase sequence here where Lester sees her down the street, runs after her, gets into his car and starts really chasing her down in his car, hunting her down. And she's hiding in alleyways and side streets. Lester trying to drive down those streets and the car won't get in the right angle in there. And it's really intense, right? I mean, for a scene from this time period.
Absolutely. Yeah. It feels more like almost like you would see this sort of thing in the 70s, like
yes.
like a European 70s, like car chase thing or something.
Yeah, totally.
And he's stalking her. Like he's going to such extreme ends to just like fucking destroy this woman in any way that he can. You know?
Yes.
Even if it means just like plowing her down. in
Right.
the
Like
street.
falling off roofs and stuff. You know, there's a lot of like
Yeah.
danger in it.
Yeah.
I guess that's why it reminded me of like a horror early 80s or
Yeah.
late 70s
Yeah.
horror
Yes.
movie.
Well,
He's
when
like
you-
a monster chasing him.
I know.
Jason.
I know you're
Yeah.
Skull
It looks like he's
Skull
wearing a
Man.
mask. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. I'm
Skull
sorry.
Man chasing you down the alleyways.
Right.
But of
It
course,
also has the. Oh, go ahead.
No,
Because
I know what
think
you're
you were
gonna
about
say.
to mention.
Go ahead.
It gets very snapperish.
Yep.
When Gloria pops back in and
Yes.
she's wearing the same thing.
yes.
So then you've got the
So
doubling, like single
good.
white female.
So good.
the
Yes.
doubling. Yeah. So anyway, very classic snapper.
Oh, well, I actually thought you were gonna have a dig at the stepping on the cat cliche, which maybe is that born here? Is that where this begins? I don't know.
Right.
But yes, that's what's interesting about it is that the wardrobe plays such a huge part in this moment, you know. And again, it's like costuming, designing for your own scenario here, where she's wearing the same sort of fur coat and white scarf that
Inadvertently, right?
that,
Like
that
it wasn't-
Myra's wearing. Yeah.
She must have been doing it on purpose, right?
Okay,
So,
I wasn't
like,
sure.
I don't know. Maybe
they didn't say, but I felt like Myra must be dressing herself
I
like
see.
Maybe.
Irene
That would be great.
for some purpose. You know,
That'd
I'm
be
not
great.
sure why. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
So then, and there's a great little moment where Irene, you know, she's in the garage waiting for Lester as part of the setup that Myra, you know, sort of the scenario she created, and she leaves her handbag in the garage, and so that gives that perfect motivation to kind of go back and go back for it. But then as soon as she does, right around the corner comes Lester with the car, sees the same outfit, and goes down to basically run this person over who she thinks is Myra. But then Myra's reaction as she's trying to escape the scene is like, no, Lester,
Don't do
that's
it."
Irene.
Yeah.
You know, so she's even upset
It's
about
amazing because it's
it.
like she doesn't lose her innocence throughout this. All the trials that she's put through, like she, at the end of the movie, she comes intact in terms of like her moral sense and all that. So she's like the hero of the story, no matter what she's been put through.
Right.
And they end up just like sabotaging
Right.
each other, destroying each other.
Right.
Yeah,
She did get these two people killed.
Yeah, she did.
But they had it coming.
She gets to have her cake and eat it too.
Right.
Well, because and
like they did it to themselves,
Yes,
basically. So
they
that's
did,
kind of
yeah.
it's kind of cool that she still remains
Yeah.
sort of unscathed in that way. Like,
Right.
Yeah, and
You
it's
know?
like in the noir world, you know, you have to be punished, right, for the for all of this stuff,
And that's why it's.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that's why it's interesting that this straddles, I think, a lot of genres because it's
Yeah.
not solidly noir. It's like melodramatic, women in peril. It's thriller, romance, and noir. So it's like we kind of have a mixture of all these things going on.
very
Where, like,
snapper.
Insane. Like the ending doesn't have to be nihilistic like a noir. The
Yeah.
ending is almost like letting this woman live out these sort of like even these fantasies of transgression, like in Blue Velvet, and then at the end, like order is restored.
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's an amazing final moments here of Joan, you know, sort of wandering up the hilly streets of San Francisco as the day breaks, and she takes off the white scarf and throws it into the gutter, and she's this new woman now, and just that again, great facial acting there of Joan as she has this relief, this emotional catharsis, if you will, after wow, these two people, they just killed themselves, and it worked.
Right.
And it worked in a way I didn't anticipate.
And I oh, sorry, Marcus.
I was just worried. I was worried, like, how's she going to explain this to anybody? And then the movie's like, never. Just
No, don't
cut the
worry.
credits. We don't have to worry
Don't
about
need
it,
to.
so.
Yeah. Which is great. I'm glad there isn't like an epilogue
For
of some
sure.
kind.
Yeah, she just ends on like a high note. Like she's been like put through the ringer in so many ways and sort of punished for like who she is and with the status that she has and the position in her life, and then she ended up coming out unscathed. But I wanted to also talk about briefly before this clock runs out that sort of the idea of the last movies like Sunset Boulevard, A Place in the Sun, this film, we're in the 50s, kind of the idea, like we talked about the dark side of sort of upward mobility and trying to achieve status at like any cost, And this was like the dark side of the 50s.
That's right. Well, you got it in. Nice one. All right. Well, yeah.
Thank you.
There we go. So that was 1 fucking hour in Sudden Fear, everybody. I mean, really just a gem of this time period. That's how I would classify it. It's
It's a gem.
I did say that it has been rediscovered and over the last, several decades or whatever. But it was just recently on Blu-ray, but now it's not in print anymore. I don't know. But this is a movie that if you haven't seen it, this is definitely worth a revisit. And I think it stands as one of the coolest noirs of the 50s, in my opinion.
It's a fun ride.
Yeah. So, and again, I want to hear in the comments.
Yeah.
Who is your fantasy cast for the 90s Snapper remake? Yeah. And bonus points if you can find a good, weird-headed suggestion for.
I have a few in my mind, but I'll wait until.
Okay, we'll wait. So maybe whoever has the best fantasy casting will come up with a prize of some kind.
It has to be the way that Joan's real life story mirrors this lady's life story.
Too.
Also, is I think an important.
I know, because it is meta in a way.
Okay, so we will.
We need some meta.
We need some really good suggestions.
Important.
Whoever comes up with the best one, I'll come up with a worthwhile prize. Something cool. And I'll send it to you wherever you are in the world, even if you're in the other side of the globe. Holy shit, breaking news alert here, everybody. We got breaking news here from the post-production editing desk here at One Fucking Hour. As I'm cutting and editing this episode, the future me looking at this, watching that we're doing this Snapper contest. If you can cast Sudden Fear, a fantasy cast, the film as an early 90s Snapper film, we, of course, will reward the winner with the best choice. But I just fucking realized that Sudden Fear, the movie from 1952 that we just covered, was actually released on Snapper DVD. That's right, the Kino DVD that was probably put out 25 years ago was on Snapper. So this is a Snapper. This movie is a bona fide Snapper film. So I've decided I've ordered the Snapper. If you get the best fantasy casting, if you choose the actors, actresses that blow us away as the perfectly cast 90s remake of this movie, we're going to send you, no matter where you live in the world, a One Fucking Hour autographed copy of the Sudden Fear Snapper. In addition to a full year free of the One Fucking Hour Patreon gifted to you. So go nuts. Let's see what you guys come up with. I'm looking forward to it. All right, back to the regular scheduled programming. All right, so that's that. Let's quickly touch on next week, because we do actually have a film to announce that we're going to do for next week, which I'm excited about. So next week is 1953. We're getting into, of course, for episode 153. A lot of interesting options here. I promise we are going to get out of the sort of U.S. noir zone soon. But still, I don't know. This movie, I feel like, is a really strong option for next week, because it allows us to talk about a lot of things that are definitely happening politically and culturally in the 50s. And this film is kind of a response to that. So I think it's important to visit. And it also allows us the chance to talk about a very fascinating filmmaker from this period as well. So while, there are a lot of great options for 53, the one we're going with, and I also promise, sorry, not to delay the reveal, we are going to do polls. Polls are coming. I love polls.
I love polls.
Polls are coming, but not for next week, because next week, for 1953, we're going to get into One Fucking Hour on Pickup on South Street. Directed by Samuel Fuller. Terrific movie. Fantastic. Maybe my favorite of his. So we get to talk about Sam Fuller. We get to talk about this kind of, commie Red Scare, sort of McCarthyism stuff that's going on at that time, which is a little relevant nowadays. And some amazing performances. Thelma Ritter is all I have to say about next week.
Yeah.
Very good stuff.
Actress, record-breaking nominee, I think.
Yes, it is. And she's fantastic in this movie. So we're going to get into that. All right, so that's next week. But I do want to give a quick shout out to, real quick, the One Fucking Hour Patreon. Patreon.com/One Fucking Hour is where you can sign up and support our One Fucking Hour brother, Tom Fitzgerald, for just $5 a month. You get access to all of our bonus eps, including the new one that we're doing, the top 100 movies on the 21st century, as I guess decided by the New York Times. And it gets you instant access to all of our episodes, 24-hour plus early access to all of our episodes of the show, so you can see them before anybody else. Or you can become a Moment of the YouTube channel by clicking the join button underneath this video. And we appreciate your support nonetheless. Thank you guys so much. What else, guys? We got to leave people. We can't leave you without your Tomin of Zen. And we'll see you next week, everybody, for the Pickup on South Street. And I want to see those fantasy cast lists.
Yeah.
Me too.
Got to see that
that'll be fun.
shit.
That'll be fun.
All right, everybody. Take care. Here's your moment. See you later. Bye.
I.
Well, look who's back.
I'm back.
It's great to see you again. You look fantastic. This is, of course, Mario Cantone. We have Sudden Fear from 1952, Joan Crawford and Jack Palance.
Yes, and this was right after she was let go from Warner Brothers.
Yes.
She had lost her contract at
His
Warner's.
face, in this sense, it's a compliment. It usually isn't. But his face is like the surface of the moon, right? I mean, it's just crevices and valleys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This, and then this.
Yeah.
He looks like the puppet Madam as a handsome male.
Well, I don't know what that means.
You know who Madam was? Waylon Flowers, the puppet Madam? All right. Okay. There's the heterosexuality just oozing out of your pores in front of me.
I'm so sorry.
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
That was wicked, man.